G'day gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I've got an article here that was posted up 2 days ago on the Sydney Morning Herald, and it's about that story where Sally Faulkner went to Lebanon from Australia to kidnap her kids, to use different language to bring back her kids into her care. Whatever language you want to use, it's all pretty much, in a sense, irrespective to the points that I'm trying to project to the listener of this video and the message behind this video. Now, the person that's put this article together goes by the name of Latika Burke, and her image is portrayed right here on this very first page. And she states that Ali Elamine's behavior in negotiations over his half-Australian children led one person to describe him as pretty face, ugly heart. So, quote, pretty face, ugly heart. Now, there's a video here that you can click on if you want to watch it, which is a courtesy of the ABC News 24, and you'll pretty much hear an emasculated man talking about some things related to this issue. But please note, if you were to click onto most popular, point number 2, women get healthier after their husbands die, it just shows you that this Sydney Morning Herald, National, the ABC News, and pretty much these other little articles that are on the side here are nothing but a concoction, a conglomerate, different media outlets that pretty much function the same way and operate the same way, pretty much in a misandric way, a man-hating way. I haven't even opened the subject with regards to what Latika Burke, this reporter of the Sydney Morning Herald, has discussed as of yet, but it will be very easy to identify the misandry involved in this specific story. Page number 2, well, it's my page number 2, it's pretty much the same article that Latika has produced. If you scroll down, you'll see this. Channel 9 paid child abduction firm. So we have an Australian channel that pretty much has given up some of their money, $69,000 of their money, and deposited that pretty much to a child abduction company. There's a movie where Denzel Washington is in, and he pretty much, I think he's in Mexico or Brazil. I'm pretty certain it's Mexico, and he's pretty much there as a security measure to stop this specific child from getting kidnapped. And they show you these peeps that kidnap different people, different children, and it's really scary. It's like they're monsters. You know, that's how they're described. They're painted as monsters, and they should be, because you're kidnapping kids. You're kidnapping kids. But Sally Faulkner, because we live in a man-hating society, and her being connected to these guys that are kidnappers, this firm, they're okay. They have a green light. So these white knights, these manginas that are pretty much coming to rescue this, well, you know, these Captain Saverhose that are coming to rescue this female, pretty much are okay now, because they're serving the, gynocentrism. Beirut, the Mediterranean, from Jaya Beach is flat to the horizon this time of the year, but it's from this stretch of water that Ali Elamine runs a surf instructor in school. Look, mind you, my background, just for the record, is also from this same country that Ali Elamine is from, in saying that my parents, the specific branch of faith that they pursue is different than the specific branch of faith that Ali Elamine and his family would pursue. They actually clash, and they fight each other and contradict one another, etc., etc., etc. But I'm here, not for any of that, because I don't care about that. I'm here because I'm a man, And I was a man before all of that. And that is what is important, because men suffer a hell of a lot more than what most people think. And only as a MGTOW will you pretty much understand that. A few hundred meters up the road, the roller door of his surf shop has been raised, but the store remains closed. It's still early on Sunday morning, and most of Beirut is asleep. Cool, most of the people in Beirut are sleeping. A daily early morning swimmer, Elamine, is nowhere to be seen on his particular dawn. He knows the Australian media, a contingent growing in size by the day, is looking for him. So we have these sharks that work for the media, paparazzi, you know, dun 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 dun. They're looking for this guy, Ali Elamine, and they want to harass him. Of course, he's not going to be found. He's going to be somewhere else. He doesn't want to be seen. It was to hear, he says, the child abductors lured him away from his regular school drop-off duties by insisting on a surfing lesson on the morning of Wednesday, April the 6th. He agreed and left the task of escorting his children to his 70-year-old mother, Ibtisam Berry, cousin to the Speaker of Lebanon's Parliament, Nabi Berry. So, there's an image of Sally Faulkner. Sally Faulkner in a minivan shortly after she was released. Photo Hussein Mella. No problem. How lucrative can a surfing season be? The answer's not clear until you meet him. Green-eyed, clean-cut and handsome with a Californian drawl. The US-raised Elamine is a man loaded with self-confidence and blessed with political and family connections. Pretty face, ugly heart. So again, quote unquote, pretty face, ugly heart is how one close observer of the parents' negotiations described him by the end of the fortnight. He is a man used to winning. Well, that's a successful man. That's because he can do the math. He knows how to foresee things and calculate things. He is rational. He uses logic, not emotion, like females and women. So this guy had someone that was close, a close observer of the parents, their negotiations, call him pretty face, ugly heart. I think that's someone that's really jealous that would call him that. That's nothing but a jealous person that would call him a pretty face, ugly heart. And I'll get to that, and I'll explain why. And it should be really obvious as to why. This week, 30 kilometers away, his soon-to-be ex-wife Sally Faulkner is languishing at the Central Women's Prison in Barbda. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing all these names right, but anyway, the former Emirates flight attendant has been there for more than a week after attempting a high-stakes operation to abduct her children back to Australia. So this Latika has pretty much put up an article, and she's actually using the normal wording that kidnappers, abductors would pretty much use. So this lady, Sally Faulkner, she's about to get these peeps to abduct her children so she can send them back to Australia. So she's going to abduct her kids and take them back to Australia. Abduct them from the father. The biological father, she's a biological mother. The biological mother's going to abduct them from the father. In May 2015, the children travelled to Lebanon to spend summer with their father, their dad. He never put them on a plane back home. Elamine would use so this guy, Ali Elamine, the father, would use the time difference between Lebanon and Australia to justify to poor 5.5-year-old Lahela and poor 3-year-old Noah. And Noah would be Nuh in Arabic, so that's a boy, a young boy, a 3-year-old boy, and Layla would be a young girl, 5.5-year-old. Their mother's disappearance from their lives. So the father would use a time difference to justify the mother's disappearance from their lives. Now, this is what the father's excuse is to the kids. Like, in Australia, you would never ever hear of something like that. What you would hear in Australia is, your father used to bash me, or your father tried to rape me, or your father raped me, or your father tried to sexually molest you, or sexual molestation allegations come through and the child is too young to understand what is even going on. But this father has used a time difference between Lebanon and Australia to justify these kids, their mother's disappearance from these kids' lives. Whoa, that is like, man, I'm shaking now. Poor kids. Poor kids. Don't get me wrong. Don't get this twisted. I personally believe that a mother and father should be in the children's lives, but understand the perspective of this Latika and the agencies that allow these peeps like Latika to actually work. These guys are giving them a platform to speak, and it's obvious that this Latika is a feminist and a man-hater at that. We understand that feminists are man-haters anyway. Ali Elamine speaks to journalists after dropping charges against his estranged wife and the 60 Minutes crew, Bilal Hussein. So now we have two photos, one from Hussein and another person by the name of Bilal. Still married, Elamine and Faulkner's relationship had broken down over the course of 2014 and even earlier, according to friends of hers, believing her unfaithful and accusing her of failing to help him get residency and a visa to work in Australia. He headed to his homeland without his wife or children in March 2015. Now, I would like to know who actually stated this, in the sense where he believed that she was unfaithful. Did that come from him? He accused her of failing to help him get residency. Did that come from him? And a visa to work in Australia. Did that come from him? He headed to his homeland without his wife or children in March 2005. Later on, you'll understand, guys, that this bloke was switched on. He knew about the family court system and the way it functioned and how pretty much the repercussions are really severe. The ramifications, they're pretty much gonna fry this man in a pan, and he ain't gonna get his kids. As soon as the mother starts showing some signs of her not wanting to be with him, she's gonna flee, pretty much play a victim, get with another man, take his kids, and he knows the deal from there. We're not stupid. We are seeing the game. So these are just little herbs and spices of excuses that they're using over here regarding unfaithfulness and accusations of her failing to get residency. This bloke's got heaps of money. He's from America. He's gone to Lebanon. He can move back and forth from one Western country to another country altogether in the Middle East and do so without any issues. He headed to his homeland without his wife or children in March 2015. Moving on. Layla kept on telling me mummy's friend, so this is his daughter, and pretty much in quotes, the father is speaking here. He's saying, Layla kept on telling me mummy's friend would sleep in the same bed and was always around. And I wasn't okay with that, he told an Australian FM radio station this week. Well, which man in his mind, in his right frame of mind, would actually be happy with that? This is just a man. The only man that would be happy with that is the same man that I read an article about not long ago, and there was videos put together in the MGTOW sphere regarding this man that is married and he's actually okay with his wife going out there after she tells him that she's going to go out there to fuck other guys. That type of mindset would be okay with this. But the sane man would not be okay with this. So, yep, you know what? Good on you. I'll give you points for that, Mr. Elamine. The hit to his pride and honor in family-oriented Lebanon, would have been immense, compounded by the fact that within 10 months after Ali's departure, Faulkner and her new partner welcomed a baby. Like, yeah, man, as if this bloke, who's got these looks, he's got money, is going to give a flying shit about Sally Faulkner in the sense where, she doesn't want to be with him anymore. Like, yeah, whoa, okay, let's label all guys narcissistic. He's a narcissist. She left him because she was getting abused or whatever. It didn't work out. And you know what? This is awesome. Yep, feminist, female pride. Yep, this and that. The mother, she got him hard, man. His pride and honor is, it's destroyed. Get the fuck over yourselves, man. Get the fuck over yourselves. The hit to his pride and honor in family-oriented Lebanon would have been immense. How the fuck would you know? Miss Latika? You know what? We'll come back to that as well. What about this lady here? You know, this old lady here that is supposed to be, you know, on the side of women who you, as a feminist, don't really give a shit about anyway. Her name is Ibtisam Berry. Not like, I don't even know this lady personally, don't know her from a bar of soap, but she would be the granddaughter of these kids. Ibtisam Berry, with a picture of her granddaughter Layla Elamine at her home in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Nothing is mentioned apart from putting a picture here. Okay, but she's got the picture, obviously, of one of her grandchildren in the background. But it would be to her desperation to see her first two children. Okay, so now she's got 3 kids, this Sally Faulkner. She's got this newborn that she left in Australia to jump on board a plane, head to Lebanon to try and kidnap her 2 other kids. Look how irresponsible this mother is, leaving her newborn in Australia. Like, how pathetic. How bloody stupid. But it would be her desperation. Oh man, her desperation made her do this. To see her first 2 children, over whom the Australian courts had granted her custody. That would consume Faulkner's new life and lead to her making the biggest mistake for which she now looks likely to pay over her lifetime. Granted her custody. The Australian family courts had granted her custody. The scammers. The whole world needs to know that these courts, they're not an area or a place of justice. They're not an area or a place of actual law. They're just nothing but legislation. They actually are inhumane. They are one of the worst organizations that commit the worst type of crimes in this century, last century, and more to come, because no one's doing anything about it. So you know what? Ali Elamine did something about it for his pretty much immediate family, and you know, good on him. Excellent. They granted her custody. Why? Because she's a female. The only reason why they granted her custody is because of vagina. And so they can extract this man's wealth. That is it. Nothing more, nothing less. So they can use his kids as a carrot on a stick and pretty much grab him by the legs, hold him up and shake him for every dollar that he's got. So this guy was a smart man. He knew what was going to happen. She began contacting child abduction. Man, she began contacting child abduction companies. Whoa, man. Where the hell do I start? I want to contact the child abduction company. I would like to know where I start. And came across Adam Whittington. Oh, so they do have names. These guys that are still in Lebanon, because now Sally Faulkner and that 60 Minutes worker, oh man, I've seen her now without her makeup on as well, you know. I've seen the real her, Tara Brown. Whoa, man, she's like, add another 20 years of age. That's what she looks like as compared to what they show her on TV. She began contacting child abduction companies and came across Adam Whittington, a dual British-Australian ex-soldier and former Scotland Yard detective who has been exposed as falsely claiming successful child retrievals. Yeah, so this guy's nothing but a scumbag. He's a fucking liar, man. You know, it's his fault that this whole operation didn't work. He is expendable because he's a man. Let him rot in jail. We don't care about him. Men are nothing. Men are nothing but scum. For his services, Faulkner needed money which she did not have, but she knew her story would be ratings dynamite. Channel 9, no stranger to checkbook journalism, obliged. They paid $69,000 into Whittington's offshore bank account in January to pay for a missing child investigation. They will claim that they were buying the Australian mother's story and they had no idea the overseas bank account she gave them was Whittington's. In this photo, you'll see reporter Tara Brown. She's in the centre. David Balmont, he's on the left. And Sally Faulkner, she's on the right. So right now they've been released from Beirut jail, and yeah, in this image here, it looks like they've got some makeup on. I can tell because I saw the ones without the makeup. Whittington proved to be an amateur cowboy at best, a fraud selling pipe dreams to desperate parents at worst. He left a trail everywhere he went from the moment he arrived in Beirut and organised for the abduction to take place in Hadeth, a Hezbollah-controlled suburb where Elamine has tight contacts. Hezbollah, a Hezbollah-controlled suburb where Elamine has tight contacts. Well, what is Hezbollah? Hezbollah they're an organization. They're like the IRA, the Irish Republic Army, and they pretty much keep a lot of things in Lebanon working for the favor of the people, because they're a resistance army. And a lot of my family will disagree, but that's the way it is. That's what they do. The raid was carried out in broad daylight on a busy shopping strip covered by CCTV. So what happened was the kidnapping occurred. They're driving away. Sally Faulkner, the mother of the kids, gets on the phone, rings up the father and says the kids are safe. This is what they claim. And I promise you, the mother is not going to call the father and say the kids are safe. She's going to call the father, and she's dying to call because right now, she's rubbing her hands. She's got the kids in the car. She's going, this is fantastic. She's rubbing her hands, calls her father, sucked in, you scumbag or whatever. I got the kids, ha 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 ha, because in her mind it's nothing but a game. She's bitter. And, that was a mistake. She shouldn't have done that, but she did. And the kids weren't safe. They just got abducted. And the mother put them in the line of danger. And the other child that's not safe is still that 3-month-old baby that's in Australia. This so-called mother has left her third child in Australia. So, no, man, the kids aren't safe. Because they're not the only 2 kids that you've given birth to. So you're a liar. While Elamine had long ago cut off communications, Faulkner's email account was still accessible on the children's iPad, enabling him to monitor in real time her contact with child abduction agencies. I think what's occurred, and I didn't mention it just a short moment ago, is that when the mother made that phone call, this guy Ali Elamine, he made a phone call himself to some important people in Lebanon, whether they be the military, intel, or politicians, and they pretty much triangulated the phone call that the mother had made, and they located where she was. And that way they were able to get the kids. In the days before the operation, Mohammed Hams, at the request of his brother in Sweden, an acquaintance of Whittington's, conducted reconnaissance trial run of Elamine and his children. Elamine boasted he knew of Faulkner's plans every step of the way, but said he didn't do more to stop the operation because he never thought she would go through with them. When his children were snatched off the street and his elderly mother was knocked to the ground, that's the old lady that we saw earlier in the same article, he knew who to call. Faulkner's reply to assure him that the children were safe with her and not with some unknown abductors would be her final undoing. Within hours, police had arrested the 9 crew, 2 Lebanese fixers, Whittington and his British associate, Craig Michael, a Cyprus-based part-time tattooist. Paying Whittington wasn't the only way 9 got too close. The 60 Minutes crew filmed the kidnapping from a second car, and instead of waiting to document the reunion on a yacht en route to Cyprus, they accompanied Faulkner in Lebanon. Elamine has demanded the footage never see the light of day. 9 agreed, and after reportedly paying $500,000 by Wednesday night, its crew were boarding Emirates business class bound for home. Faulkner, still in Beirut but out of jail, emerged from a custodial hearing on Thursday before Judge Rami Abdullah, a broken and defeated woman. With sad eyes and a soft voice, she kept repeating to Fairfax Media, "I just want to see my kids." And this is quote, "I just want to see my kids. I love my children." She saw her children briefly later that day, but her future relationship with them is irrevocably changed. "I just want to see my kids. I love my children." I hear so many fathers saying this all the time in Australia. I've seen them in real life, not only on the internet, and heard them on the internet. In real life, I've seen men storm out of courtrooms, about to rip their chest open, buttons about to burst off their shirts. They're wearing these suits. And it's heartbreaking. And you expect me as a man that has seen all this and knows about your corruption and knows about your misandry and your hatred towards men to have sympathy for this woman. I'm not going to have sympathy for her. I don't even have a shred of sympathy for her. I have empathy for the kids, but I don't have sympathy for this woman. I don't have any sympathy for her. I have sympathy for men. I feel the pain that men go through. She saw her children briefly later that day, and I've reread that sentence. The moment she set foot on Elamine's home soil, she walked into a self-made trap. Elamine was quick to strike. Yeah, because this is war. Insisting she relinquish her most valuable chip. Yeah, because, it's not only war, but it's also a game. We're playing, we're in Star City Casino. Most valuable chip, the carrots on a stick that these lawyers and family courts and judges use. Quote, it was intense. I told her this was all over and you have to drop your custody charges, unquote, he said. So this is what he said, that it was intense and he told her that she has to drop all her custody charges. She became upset with the reality of what his demand meant. He didn't comfort her. What was he supposed to do? If he comforted her or tried to hug her or caress her and make her feel some comfort, that's abuse in a different way under the Duluth model. So no matter what, the only way he can comfort her is give her the kids. And that's not going to happen because what about him? What about the future of these kids? How about the way they're going to get raised and pretty much be reared? He didn't comfort her. What do you expect? She's with another man. Let the other man comfort her. He denies it was payback, but in revealing comments suggesting it was her new relationship that made her unfit to look after the children. Well, in my opinion, she's unfit to look after the children. If she is really getting these kids to sleep with her while she's sleeping with another man who is not the biological father of these kids, the children are 3 and 5.5, then she is unfit to look after the children. She's left a 3-month-old baby in Australia. You think this mother is fit to look after children? She is unfit to look after children. If I found out that my mother slept with another man when I was 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, and that man was not my father, my biological father, I will spit on the face of my mum. I will spit on her face. I will not want to know her. I will excommunicate her from my life. So this sentence that I'm going to get at soon is not going to make sense, which is what the whole article's based on, which is your theme, and I'll get to that. Where she's at, I don't think it's the right place for them to be at. She's moved on. She has a family, he said. Well, yeah, she has moved on. She moves on. She doesn't know exactly where she's going because she's leaving kids, here and there. And she's got her 3-month-old baby in Australia. And yeah, she's in Lebanon. But I understand what Ali Elamine is saying. He's saying that it's not the right place for the kids to be. She's moved on. Yeah, that's true. And that means Ali Elamine, he's in Lebanon. He's moved on as well. He's moved on. He's got his kids with him. They've moved on. They are a family now. The father and the kids are a family. Obviously, that's not the issue, he added, but complained, I want the kids to be around me because the mum wants to move, or mum wants to move on, because the court system favours the mother over the father. It's not fair for the father to miss out on stuff. This is gold. Because the court system, and he's talking about the Australian court system, even though he's pretty much spent more time in America than Australia, it's the same thing. Because the court system, the family court system, favours the mother over the father. It's not fair for the father to miss out on stuff. Thank you. Thank you. Either the father's going to miss out or the mother's going to miss out, because this is the way the courts function. That's how they work. And it's a war. It's not like, the father's going to be okay and the mother's going to be, meet him halfway. The mother's going to rip his head off. The mother is going to rip his head off, and the solicitors work with the mother to destroy, obliterate the father. The family court works with the mother to completely obliterate the father. Obliterate. Ali Elamine likes to play the victim. Oh, really? Really? Ali Elamine likes to play the victim. Who's the one crying? Who's the one that was in jail that wanted to get it anyway? The Australian media are against him, he claims. Yes, they are. Of course they're against him. Listen to this. This article was put together by an Australian herself by the name of Latika. He says the Australian government was pushing for Faulkner and the Nines 9 crews freedom. The fresh Australian passports Faulkner was able to obtain without his consent. So the fresh Australian passports, this mother was able to put passports for her children together without the father's consent. Do you understand what's happened here? Dear listener, do you understand what's happening here? MGTOW men, the fresh Australian passports that the mother was able to obtain without his consent. So the kids are in Lebanon with the father. The mother is in Australia without her kids, with these 2 specific kids. Yet the Australian government organises for her passports for the children who aren't even with her, against the consent of the father. But we have legislation, and we'll call it Australian custodial rights, where further proof of the system, or further proof of a system, stacked against him. Hell yeah! This system is not only stacked against him and all the other men in Australia, it's also stacked against these young boys like Noah, who is his son, that's going to grow up and pretty much go through the same cycle like my son. Grow up and go through the same cycle. But this week, he cleaned up in Winners Takes All Stakes and blitzed Australian media post-victory. His ex-wife will return home defeated. Nine's quest to expose a villain ended in a network having to pay him a small fortune. They should have paid him a big fortune. You know, Channel 9 should pretty much be shut down. For parents, the most important thing in their life is their kids. Now, this is a quote from the father. For parents, the most important thing in their life is the kids. The kids it is, unquote. Elamine said at the end of the saga, he's never told them their mother was in jail and that he had the power to set her free. He hopes Faulkner won't tell them either. Man, they're too young anyway. They're 5 and 3 years old. Whether he told them or, you know, it's better not to tell them, something like that. But he hopes the mother doesn't tell him either. Well, if she wants to tell him, she can tell him. She's going to open up Pandora's box and he's going to end up telling him what really occurred. And that is going to be that. But in the near future, now we're going back to what Latika said, because this is something that I wanted to say earlier on, just an extension of what I was saying earlier on. But in the near future, there'll come a day when his beloved children will work out how to type their own names, their father's name and their mother's name into Google, and what they find out about the price he made their mother pay may make him, the biggest loser of all. Bullshit. That's bullshit. If these kids grow up and they do that, they type in their kids and they find out about this story and what really happened, they're gonna dislike their mum. They're really not gonna like what their mum did. Especially now that information about her sleeping with another man. The kids aren't gonna like that. They're going to disrespect their mother. They're gonna lose respect for their mother, especially after knowing that she left their 3-month-old half brother or half sister in Australia to come and actually kidnap these same kids. Are going to be reading this article. So straight out, Latika, wake up to yourself. You know what I mean? And a lot of men have realized that this is nothing but a scam. This whole thing is nothing but a scam, and these men aren't even MGTOW. I've done a video with Paranormal Messenger. It was about this same subject. I think it was the very next day or the day after that these people, Sally Faulkner and Tara Brown, were released. And when we were going through some of the comments, you know, you'll realize a lot of people, and like I said earlier, they're not even MGTOW. They know what's going on. Even women know what's going on. So who the hell are you kidding? Who the hell are you guys kidding? Sydney Morning Herald, Daily Telegraph, Channel 9, Channel 10, Channel 7, SBS, the ABC, these are all pretty much painting the same picture of the same story and every other story that we see. It's all connected. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. I know it was a long one. I'll be back soon. I've got some more interesting stuff that I want to discuss. Take care. Till next time. Bye.